Hi guys, welcome to the Hyundai Palisade. This has just been confirmed. It will go on sale in Australia during the fourth quarter of this year. Some of the overseas viewers, it's probably not such a big deal. It's been on sale since 2019 in some parts of the world. But for Australia, this is a brand new model. It'll sit at the top of the SUV lineup in terms of size and likely for price. We're here today as part of a media function where Hyundai Australia went over some of their future products and plans and showcased some of their vehicles like this one here. Unfortunately, this isn't an Australian specification model. It's left-hand drive. I'm not able to take it for a test drive for you, but we can check it out and get a bit of an understanding on what it's about. First things first, it is massive. Like, it really does have a lot of presence. It's quite grand in its sort of demeanor. I'm sure on the road it looks very, very imposing. To give you some sort of perspective, the Toyota Land Cruiser, which is pretty much the largest SUV you can get in Australia, or the most well-known large SUV, this is only 10 millimeters shorter in terms of overall length. And the wheelbase, which is the area between the front wheel and the rear wheel, that chunk there is actually 50 millimeters longer than what's offered in the Land Cruiser. So that gives you some idea of, just how much passenger space there is inside. We'll check out the interior in a minute, but for now, just quickly go over the exterior. So at the back, it looks kind of like an MPV in my opinion. It's quite boxy, but that just means there's heaps of room in the back, lots of cargo space, which we'll check out in a minute. And there will be available 7 seats or 8 seats in the Palisade for Australia. So that's a pretty unique thing for the 7-seat SUV market, to be able to option up to 8 seats. I love these new tail lights. They look quite futuristic, especially with this little aluminium sort of chrome look piece running down the side there, vertical stacked, and that kind of links in with the new headlight design. Now, although Hyundai hasn't confirmed it, I'm thinking that this new sort of cross or strike through headlight arrangement will start to appear on more and more SUVs. We've already seen it with the facelifted Santa Fe, which was revealed not that long ago, and I'm thinking it'll be applied on the next generation Tucson next year. It was kind of first kicked off with the Hyundai Kona, with the sort of main beam of the headlight down here, and then the daytime running lights and indicators up the top. Whereas this goes a bit further than that by having this sort of vertical strike through piece that connects the top and the bottom and goes underneath the bumper bar there. It's very distinctive, especially with this new cascading grille, three-dimensional sort of effect. Looks very sophisticated and even premium. So the Federal Chamber of Automotive Industries hasn't actually classified this car yet in terms of its size because it's not on sale yet, but it's expected it will go into the same category as the Mazda CX-9, the Toyota Kluger and the Nissan Pathfinder. It also means that it'll be going up against its brother, the Hyundai Santa Fe. However, this is definitely a bit bigger than the Santa Fe. In fact, it's 210 millimeters longer than the Santa Fe, as well as being 85 millimeters wider and 45 millimeters taller. Despite looking quite big, it'll actually go more evenly up against the likes of the Mazda CX-9. The CX-9 is actually 95 millimeters longer overall, and the wheelbase is 30 millimeters longer on the CX-9. I guess that's not saying that this is a small car, it's probably highlighting the fact that just how big that CX-9 is. But yeah, this definitely looks, in terms of its just, visual presence, it looks much bigger and grander than pretty much anything else in the class, in my opinion. The full specifications for the Australian lineup haven't been outlined just yet, but as far as we know, there will be a 2.2 litre turbo diesel matched up to an 8-speed automatic with all-wheel drive, and then a 3.8 litre petrol V6 matched up to a front-wheel drive system. So this model here is saying it's a 3.8, which is probably the same engine that we'll get. According to the Hyundai Global website, the 3.8 V6 produces 217 kilowatts and 355 newton meters, whereas the diesel produces 147 kilowatts and 441 newton meters. So it's pretty much the same as the Santa Fe that's available in Australia now. As far as I know, this is the top spec model from wherever it came from. So it's got the big wheels, the chrome trimmings and so on. And then inside, you've got this beautiful Napa leather upholstery. They call it quilted leather, but it's kind of not really. It's just got this diamond stitching up the top there. Perforated seats as well for heating and cooling. and then this nice sort of soft Alcantara style roof liner, which is very, very luxurious. The driving position is very high though. There's great visibility around here, and this light coloured interior really brightens up the cabin and makes it feel airy and luxurious. I like the wood trimming across the dash. It goes all the way around through to the back as well, and it's got this grey colour on the top, which just gives it a bit more depth, I suppose, a bit more three-dimensional character to it. I'll just lower the seat right down. So that's as low as it goes, and it's quite tall. I feel like I'm perched up and definitely driving an SUV, not a station wagon. And in that sense, it's probably got more of that sort of four-wheel drive. You know, we used to call SUVs just four-wheel drives. You know, the kind of upright, as opposed to what's out today, crossovers, which is kind of like station wagons that are slightly raised off the ground. This has definitely got that sort of four-wheel drivey character to it. Anything that you see here, I can't really confirm if it will be available in Australia, although most of it probably will be. I just can't confirm that it definitely will be, because this is, as you can see, it's an overseas spec model. But what I think will definitely come across is this new 10.25-inch touchscreen. It's a brand new system by Hyundai Motor Group, and I think it will roll out in a lot of new Hyundai models in the very near future. Very crisp graphics. I like the sort of swiping action. It's got the main menu there. You can go through and you've got different sort of apps you can go into. Sat Nav, Hyundai Live, I'm not sure what that is. Oh yeah, live parking and traffic and so on. Yeah, that's definitely a very, very cool touchscreen system. And then in the instrument cluster, you've got a semi-digital screen, well, a digital screen in the middle and traditional gauges on the outside there. I think that's starting to show some signs of its age, because it actually debuted the Palisade in late 2018. Whereas I think if this was a brand new model, that would probably be all digital. It wouldn't have the analog dials there on the sides. But yeah, I'm not really complaining. I don't mind analog dials. I think they keep that sort of tradition there. A bit more sophisticated, a bit more, you know, an actual moving part as opposed to just a blank screen that you can pretty much show whatever you want. But yeah, I think that is starting to show some signs of its age. Another thing that's probably doing that too is the sheer amount of buttons. So you've got a lot of buttons along here. This is actually the gear selector system. It's just a button operation. But yeah, just a lot of, you know, general spewing of buttons everywhere you look. The driving assistance functions on the side here, obviously the power windows and so on. But newer cars kind of like to tidy this all up and get it all packaged into one, either packaged into the touchscreen or even, you know, have another touchscreen down here just to neaten it up a bit. In my opinion, I don't mind buttons, especially for some things. So I like that there's a climate control panel here, because, you know, some cars, they have everything entwined into the touchscreen. And if you want to turn the air conditioning off, for example, you've got to go into the screen and fiddle around. Whereas here, it's just got a button. You just hit it and there you go. Or you can, you know, change the temperature and so on without actually having to scroll along a screen and find what you want. But yeah, other things like perhaps some of these radio buttons and everything, that could probably be all integrated into a slightly larger screen even, just to neaten it up a bit. If you want space inside your SUV, this is definitely worth looking at. Like, there's so much room in here, it's unbelievable. Check out this center console. It's got two connection ports down there, 180 watt 12 volt socket and a USB port. And you've got another USB port in here, a big deep wireless phone charging pad there, two cup holders that actually have these little spring out bits, and that's pretty cool, to hold your cups. And then down below the sort of floating center console is another storage pocket with two more power sockets. It is actually rubber lined as well, which is nice because you can put things down there that don't sort of roll around and scratch about. They sort of stay a bit more secure. If you're after more space than this, then yeah, I don't know, maybe you need to buy a commercial van or something, because yeah, this has got lots and lots of room for various bits and pieces. In fact, the Palisade boasts 16 cup holders. So these are just two here. I think it means the bottle holders in the doors as well. But 16 overall. So even if this was an 8-seater, that means it's two cup holders for every passenger in the car, which is crazy. But yeah, if you want space, this is definitely worth looking at just for that alone. Let's check out those rear seats. So huge big back doors here, so definitely got plenty of room to You could even use this as a, you know, VIP style chauffeur car or something like that, or if you've got baby seats, very easy to get your baby into the seats, even reverse facing. You've got plenty of width there to get anything in. As you can see as well, lots of leg room, and even the center transmission tunnel there is almost completely flat, so even the middle passenger does have lots of room to play with. Again, this is the top spec model, so I don't know if this will be available on the sort of entry-level variants, but heated seats back here and separate climate control with full temperature and fan and even venting control for the rear passengers here. All that comes out of these quite neat ceiling vents, and you can actually turn them on and off individually as well. But there you go, two more cup holders. You've actually got two different sizes there, a big one at the front and a smaller one at the back. Another little storage pocket there that doesn't go through down to the door map pocket, which is good. I like door handles that sort of stop right there. And then you've got the sort of map pockets, or whatever you call these things, in the backs of the front seats. Two more cup holders in the middle, just in case you're running out of positions to put your cups. And then you've also got these little USB ports in the back of the seats there, which I think are a very clever little idea, because you could have your phone charging and put it into this pocket there. And you've still got a 12 volt socket, 180 watt 12 volt socket there as well. So yeah, there's definitely no shortage of convenience minded features in here. Overall comfort back here is excellent. You could spend hours back here and still remain very comfortable for your entire drive. There's actually reclining seats, so it's got this little lever down here, and you can recline it back if you want to, and really cruise, sit back and relax, or you can move it forward and provide a bit more leg room for the third row. The seats do slide as well, so they've got sliding adjustment, so you can open up the third row leg room if you need to, or if you want to. If you're carrying, you know, 7 adults picking up your family from the airport or something like that, give everyone sort of even space. I've still got plenty of leg room there, and the third row will have even more leg room. Let's check out that third row. Here's this little lever I'm talking about, and you just push this button and it will electrically, sort of semi-electrically get out of your way. There are little steps here, which is nice, it's good to see, because you've got carpet there. It'll start to wear away pretty quickly. And it's just a matter of pulling this back, and that doesn't actually come back to where it was. It means the middle seat passenger does have to readjust when they get in, which is probably fine because they have to move it forward anyway, you know, and then they just have to readjust it to where is suitable for everyone, I guess. In that setting though, which is probably a bit more forward than what you'd have it, I do have a decent amount of leg room, although the floor is quite high, so my knees do sit up, and I'm not very tall, so if someone was, you know, 6 foot or something like that, their knees will probably be up here somewhere. So in that regard, it's probably not, the third row isn't the most spacious in the class specifically. So I don't mean that as a really negative thing, I just mean that very literally, it's probably not the most spacious in the class. I think that, well, the Nissan Patrol could be categorized as a class up from this. It probably will be in terms of price, but that does offer more room, in my opinion, in terms of the third row, because your feet can drop down a bit further and you've got a bit more freedom there. And let's not forget that that's not in an ideal position. It's probably this one that's in more of an ideal position. And when I go here, yeah, my knees are smashed up against that. That headrest needs to be moved up a bit. And then it's pretty tight. It's not completely spacious, but definitely fine for kids. And then you've got 2 more cup holders and another USB port there. And also the climate vents. So everyone can be as comfortable as possible. I'm just a little bit disappointed that there's not more room, because the size of the car, especially the rear end design, suggests that there's loads of room back here, whereas there is adequate room, but not class-leading room. So even if that seat was completely out of the way, my knees are still sitting up quite high, and this rear seat isn't actually very long, so it doesn't grab the bottom of your under thighs there. It leaves them sort of hanging, but yeah, you end up with knees sort of high up anyway. This example is the 8-seater version. I've got 3 seat belts back here, and the middle seat, that's going to be pretty tight. I mean, you know, asking for a 7-seater out of an SUV body shape is always going to be a difficult task, but that middle seat is quite tight. I think really only suitable for kids. I'm pretty short, I'm about 170 centimeters, and yeah, that seat is not all the way back. It'll be definitely up against my knees, but if we had 2 more passengers here, I'd feel a little bit cramped, to be honest. There is a little cutaway in the ceiling, which is great, although this big bulky bit comes back down again. I suspect with the normal model, or the lower spec model, sorry, that won't be there, and it might continue from there straight through, you know, without the glass panel, which, you know, could give you a bit more room. Although in saying that, you do have these climate vents, so you would probably miss those. If that was removed, this would have to go, and means the vents would have to go too. We'll check out the boots and see how much room we've got left over. Easy to get out of. You just push that button on the top and it will sort of, you hear this thing go, and then it will collapse forward for you. And again, being the top spec model, it's got a fully electric tailgate. Again, I don't know what the Australian spec models will look like. I'm sure electric tailgate will be standard on at least the upper models. So just there, you've got 510 litres of space, as far as I know. And you've got some underfloor storage as well. You've got the big pull-out blind that you can use when you flip down the 3rd row. In fact, let's just do that. Pretty easy to do, and then yeah, you've got a huge amount of room there, as you can see. I think it's over 1,200 litres of space. I'll flash up the exact specs now for you, but yeah, that's definitely quite large and should compete very well with the sort of upper large competitors in this specific class. And then you've got another 12-volt socket here on the side, 180 watts, and controls for the 2nd row seats, so you can actually flip them down from back here. Overall though, I'm pretty excited to see this coming to Australia. I think it will be quite popular. It'll probably take some sales, or I suspect it will take some sales away from cars like the Toyota Land Cruiser, and even MPVs like the Kia Carnival, and even the Hyundai iMax. The overall dimensions do mean that it's not the biggest car in this class. That still kind of remains with the CX-9, but it's definitely a lot bigger than the Santa Fe, and that could provide a good little option there for those who want a Santa Fe but think that it's a tiny bit too small for them. Anyway, you can head over to the news story and I'll provide as much detail as much as available at the moment, and then yeah, it will go on sale during the 4th quarter of this year. We'll be sure to get into a couple of examples to go for a test drive and do our usual performance test video. Thanks for watching.